All right, so we're going to be going over the dev blog that's going to be talking about the Annapolis Conde nerfs, as well as the dev blog will be talking about what the Kommisar and Brennus ships will be available for. So let's get started. In the current dev blog for changes that are going into the 13.4 public test, so this will be coming out in May. The first thing they're doing is that they're allowing the Fin Yang and Ship Smasha to have their torpedoes finally be able to hit cruisers rather than just battleships and aircraft carriers. This is something that these ships have deeply needed because we already know that their guns aren't the best. They're mostly have to use AP due to how low pen the HE shells are. So it's very nice they finally made it where they could finally go after cruisers, so very happy with that. The Silly Wongi main battery reload is being reduced from 4.8 to 4.5. Very good change for the Silly Wongi. It's not really a highly respected premium ship, but with this, at least now we'll have a little bit more respect. So it's a nice buff to anyone that owns this particular ship. Same with the Fin Yang and Smasha. The Chung Mu, now for some reason the Chung Mu is getting a nerf here to its torpedoes. It's going from 19,000 to pretty much 18,000, and the torpedo speeds are being slightly slowed. I am thinking the main reason why they did this is because recently a lot of the YY line got the torpedo reload booster, and I think because of that, they were like, oh yeah, we might as well. You know, they might as well just, like, the torpedoes were a little bit too strong for the tier 9. And they wanted it to be more for the, you know, they wanted to be more balanced at tier 9. Because this thing can fight tier 7s. So imagine just a Chung Mu with the reload booster just smashing tier 7, the poor tier 7s. There's not really much they can do, unfortunately, so... Yeah, because the whole YY line, most of them got the recent torpedo reload booster. Yeah, there isn't really much that tier 7s can do against this ship. So it's pretty nice that, like, I don't like the change, but at the same time, I can understand why they did it. Because if this thing fights tier 7s, it's already a monster with just a pure amount of torps is going to be launching out. So I'm glad that they did some changes with that. For the Japanese Yamahari, they made it where its Sigma is slightly increased, so it's going to be more accurate. That's nice. They've also increased the AP shell parameters, made the AP slightly more damage, and slightly increased the pen. That's pretty useful for the Yamahari, and they did the same thing, but for the Yoda, they did the HE instead. They slightly increased the Yoda. Oh, man, dude. The Yoda's guns were already pretty nice. Now they just increased them even more. Oh, boy. Man, there's a lot of people that fanboy the Yoda. Oh, man, they're going to be very happy with this change for the Yoda. I guarantee it. It's like a 350 damage buff to HE, and then a 2% fire chance increase. Oh, dude, that's a pretty big change for the Yoda. That's pretty juicy. That's pretty juicy. This is gonna make the Yoda a lot stronger in randoms, but for competitive play, it's not gonna change. For the Flad, they have increased its detectability from 15 to 15.4. I'm not really sure why they did this. The Flat was not really an overly powerful tier 8 battleship. It wasn't like overly OP and it wasn't overly bad. It was in that middle area being just good. Yeah, I'm not sure why the flag here is bugged. I'm not sure. I think it's bugged. The ships that we're going over is the Fin Yang, the Ship Smasha, Silly Wongi, Chung Mu, Yamahari, Yodo, Flad, Monarch, Annapolis, and Conde. And then we're going over what the Kommisar and Brennus are going to be available for. Okay. So I don't like this change to the flight, even though it's a 0.4 kilometer difference. That still makes its detection slightly worse. I'm not a big fan of it. The Monarch is finally getting a super heal. It's finally getting a super heal, which it's been deeply needing. I've always been a fan of the Monarch. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of it, but I personally like the Monarch. Them giving it a super heal after all these years is very nice. It makes me very happy. It's nice to see the Monarch finally getting some love. So you go from King George, and then you get the Monarch with a super heal. Then the tier 9 has a super heal, and the tier 10 has a super heal. So I'm glad that they finally did that for the Monarch. So huge plus. Monarch gets a nice super heal now. So now time for the Annapolis and Conde nerfs. Conde is getting nerfed by about 4,100 HP. That's a pretty substantial survivability nerf. That's almost 10. That's like 8%, I think. Like an 8% nerf to survivability. That's pretty big for the Annapolis. An 8% nerf, that's pretty big. Conde got a 7,600 HP nerf. That's 12%. That's like about 11 or 12% nerf to HP. That's big. 12% nerf, that's massive. That's pretty massive. So both of these nerfs definitely are coming in from more of the fact that, like, most of the time, like right now, Condes and Annapolises are definitely the strongest of the super cruisers. The only reason why I would see them doing this is because of how they're over-reliance in clan battles. Also, the fact that not a lot of the other super cruisers are being used at the moment. And that's probably due to the fact of how just good the Annapolis and Conde are. I am glad that they are nerfing these ships because it's going to make it where other super ships will have more of a chance of being used. But again, most of us don't use the super ships anyway, due to the fact that they are just money pits. There is no reason to play super ships in randoms. There's almost no reason. The only reason why you'd want to is if you want to, like, you know, show how massive balls you have with how many credits you have, and you're just trying to just smash on all the lower tier ships. And of course, practicing for clan battles, of course, is like the main other reason, because super ships are in clan battles, which means that people have to practice them for that. And Annapolis and Conde were definitely the two top picks for clan battles. The Novo, I believe, was around 3rd and 4th and 5th, maybe around the main whenever it was around, and maybe the Hanover. But that is the dev blog for the Annapolis and Conde. Now, you can look over at the dev blog for the Kommisar and Brennus. So they announced that the Kommisar is going to be available for Steel. I remember just a week ago, Jack was legit asking, it's like, should I just save my Steel or just use it? Because he was going to buy an FDR Regato, and I told him just to save it. And legit within a week, they announced the Kommisar is going to be available for Steel, which is the funniest thing. But I already figured that, like, soon, like, they were going to have a Steel ship sooner or later. I think they release about they release about 2 Steel ships a year normally. Maybe 2 per year for World of Warships. So seeing the Kommisar or whatever ship being for Steel at this time of year makes sense to me. They release about 2 a year. And the Brennus being available for Research Bureau points, I'm not really surprised with that either. We haven't had too many Research Bureau releases recently, so I'm not surprised with that. Because of all of the old Steel ships and all of the old XP ships being moved over to coal, I don't think we're going to be getting any coal ships anytime soon. Maybe mid or late year, but not within a few months. But that is the Kommisar and the Brennus. The Kommisar is going to be available for steel, and the Brennus will be available for Research Bureau points. Now, again, Conde nerf, Conde Annapolis nerf. That's pretty much the biggest things here. I think that's probably the biggest changes to competitive play in this particular video, is the fact that the Conde Annapolis nerfs are going to be very big for their picks and clan battles. But honestly, even though they're having a slight nerf, I don't know if they're going to get, I don't think they're going to be taken out of competitive play. I think people are still going to use them, because a lot of the time a good Conde player doesn't need 63,000 HP, and a good Annapolis player doesn't need 56,000 HP. There's plenty of ways for them to stay alive. I think for randoms, some of the biggest plays are the Monarch change, the Yodo. The Yodo is also a massive change for randoms. This change right here, the Chongmu one, is also massive for randoms, as well as the Fenyang and Smasha. This is going to be the biggest one, because people over time have learned these ships do not hit cruisers, and now when the patch hits, there's going to be people that see a Fenyang and Smash on the enemy team that don't really read DevBlogs, and they're not going to realize that those torps can hit them now in cruisers, and they're just going to take a lot of damage for no. They're going to take a lot of damage. Be like, what the hell was that? And then they're like, oh wait, they changed them. So the biggest changes to randoms are the Fenyang and Smasha changes, the Chongmu, the Yodo change. The Flad one, it's a very slight change. I don't think it was necessary. It's so slight, I don't think it's going to affect it too much. And the Monarch is definitely a massive change for randoms. The Annapolis and Conde change, that's not going to change anything for randoms. It's going to be more of a competitive play change. The people that still play Annapolis and Conde and randoms are still going to play Annapolis and Conde and randoms. But more people will probably play the Monarch with that super heal, is probably where I'm getting at. But anyway, if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely in the comments down below. This is Overlord Bo. Thank you all for watching.